Yeah, it's fantastic to see you all. Thanks so much for coming. These are really important meetings, actually, where we can have a great discussion with our members. What are the kind of issues and challenges that you're facing? What do you want to what do you want us to know about in terms of your kind of day-to-day issues and challenges? We can talk about some of the stuff that's happening across RCOT, and we've got some questions that we'd like to ask you to help us with some things that we're grappling with. So really important, and we really value the fact that you've come. So I think we've got a handful of slides at the beginning of stuff that we wanted to go through, but we do see that most of this meeting can be a kind of two-way conversation. So can we share some slides? Great, we're going to do that. So yes, it's our members drop in, an opportunity to meet our senior leadership team. It's great that you're introducing yourselves and saying who you are. Maybe if you do want to make a comment or ask a question, just introduce yourself so that we know kind of where you're working would be helpful. I'll just take no, I won't. So, yeah. So first of all, who are we? So this is our senior leadership team. With me as chief exec, Claire is our director of brand and marketing. The real objective of kind of getting the our message out to the wider world. Karen, our director of practice and innovation, really kind of leading the development of OT. Satvinder heads up our people governance and finance functions, and Rob leads on all of our kind of technology transformation projects, and a lot going on here that we'll talk about. Those of you kind of have been to these before will recognise there's a name and a photo missing here. So Karen Bishop, who's our director of membership and movement building, retired at the end of last year, and we've still got a vacancy. But really delighted today that we've got Nikki Daniels, who's head of our communities and connections team, and Ruth Mallon, who's head of our membership experience. They're keep up members of that directorate, and they'll be wanting to share some stuff with you today as well. Great, and we've got Amisha, who heads up our some of our comms functions, and Chanel, who's looking after the meeting logistics. So good, let's move on to the next slide, if you can, Amisha. So I think we just thought it'd be helpful just to start off with a bit of an overview of what's happening in the outside world that we're kind of working to, and I just thought I'd ask Karen to talk to this slide, please.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everyone. There is a lot going on. So we're just going to give you a brief headline on some of the work that we're involved in. So there has been an independent commission looking at social care and children's reform, and we've responded to the Health and Social Care Committee inquiry. There is special education needs and disability reform piece of work going forward, and oh, there's a little bit of interference. If people could put themselves on mute, that would be great. Thank you. And we're currently meeting with education committee members so that we can do some influencing work and positioning of occupational therapy. I'm just going to pause for people to put themselves on mute. Thank you. A huge piece of work is Getting Britain Working. This is in England with the UK government. There is a white paper currently out to consultation. I have been involved representing RCOT and AHPF in developing a healthcare professionals consensus statement for action on health and work. I went to a round table yesterday with the Minister of State and the Minister for Employment, and as a result of that we've secured a further meeting with the ministers and a visit to an occupational therapy service, and some of the actions that we're putting forward as part of that roundtable we hope to see included in the 10-year NHS plan for England. The Scottish Government, you'll be very aware if you're working in Scotland that there was 22 million cuts announced in September. And an area that was looking to lose its centralised funding was equipment and adaptations. But we have lobbied hard on that, and now a central fund and budget has been retained. So we're really pleased with that piece of work. And then, of course, for you working in England, we've got the 10-year NHS plan. We've submitted a response. We are sitting on the Partners Council, and we're also on the Clinical Expansion and Reform Stakeholders Advisory Group. So going forward, developing that plan, we are having input in a couple of different ways. And then just finally in Wales, this is sort of very recent, so we just didn't get the opportunity to pop this on the slides. There is going to be an inquiry into GP services, and Di Davis, our professional policy and public affairs lead in Wales, has been inputting into the committee's planning, just really advising on areas to focus on, questions for the committee to ask. So I'll stop there. Thanks, Steve.
Brilliant, thank you, Karen. Yeah, a lot going on, and a real priority for us to be making sure that we're really connecting with OTs at every level to make sure that when we input into all of this, we can be really, assertive around and expert around the issues that OTs are facing. So sessions like today are really important, actually, for you to kind of highlight, what's really kind of going on the front line, as it were. So our next slide, please, Amisha. So just a little bit of a preview, really, of what's happening this year. We're really excited, actually, in spring to be launching some big new changes. Some of them you'll see, some of them are a bit more behind the scenes that will help us kind of support you as members better. But yes, we will be launching a brand new website, complete revamp of the website and our member portal. So the way that you kind of access your kind of member services, that's all new. Underpinning that, there's what we kind of technically call our new CRM, customer relationship management system, but it is, it's our member database, and enables us, I think, to have better information about our members and your particular interests and kind of requirements, so that we can start to kind of personalize the member offer more than we do at the moment. I think we really recognize that, you're all working in different types of services at different levels. You have different interests, and we do want to be more personalized in the way that we can kind of provide you with relevant information. And part of that is this launch of the new communities platform. A number of you will have been involved in specialist sections and regions over the last few years, and they've done fantastic work, and volunteers who've led those have been amazing. We actually think we can really build on that and make our communities, OTs working together, really kind of driving the profession and RCOT in ways that we haven't seen before. So we will be launching this new communities platform in the spring. It's no longer something that you have to pay extra for. It's included within your membership, and really exciting. Nick is leading on this project. She'll be talking a little bit about kind of volunteers that we're looking for to kind of support all of this. But yeah, we'd really welcome your questions or comments around all of this. So then, under workforce, hopefully you'll have all seen that we launched our workforce strategy last year, setting out our vision for occupational therapy for 2035. Sounds a long way away, but it's not. And actually, the things that we need to do now to ensure that vision can be realised in 10 years' time. Recognising that the kind of levers, the policies, the kind of environment is different in each 4 nations of the UK. we're developing action plans for each specific nation. So last year we launched action plans with masses of kind of member involvement in England and Wales, and the next steps in the next few weeks and months will be to launch the action plans for Northern Ireland and Scotland. And yeah, I really hope that you kind of get copies of your relevant action plan, and this is yeah, shaping the dialogue that you're having within your services and your health systems with your commissioners and everybody. And then our other priorities. So yeah, we've had our equity, diversity and belonging strategy in play now for over a year, and wanting to start to report on the impact that's making. We're launching and consulting on a new research and innovation strategy. Oh, sorry, whoever's just joined, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. Some of you would have been involved in the governance reviews. Sounds maybe a little bit boring, but just making sure that yeah, your organisation is run really effectively, and that members have a voice to kind of shape what's going on and keep tabs of going on, and that you can feel assured that your body is doing what you want it to do. So, you know, we want to move that forward a bit further this year, and we have got ambitious plans to grow our membership. We are growing. We celebrated last night that we crossed the 37,000 kind of barrier, and that's great, because we're putting a lot of focus into growing our membership and articulating to OTs what the benefit of RCOT membership is. Sorry, someone is speaking. Whoever's talking now, we can all hear you before you say something rude. So, okay, let's move on to the next slide, and I think we can start to get closer to opening things up. So, yeah, Nikki, talk about volunteers and our new communities vision.
Thank you, Steve, and hello everybody. For those of you who've not met me before, as Steve said earlier, I'm Nikki Daniels, and I am the head of Communities and Connections at RCOT. And the Communities and Connections team is made up of our community team, who support our members to connect and form and be part of communities, and our professional development team, who are really concerned with supporting you with your professional development and your career growth. So Steve mentioned in the previous slide that we have done quite a lot of work to work with our specialist sections in our regions to really understand what the strengths of those communities are, but to really understand how we can build and grow. We only had a proportion of our members who were able to be part of specialist sections for lots of different reasons. So we want to open that up to across all our membership, so we can all find a community or communities that are really relevant to our professional practice, and that we can really get value and benefit from being members of. So as Steve said, in the spring we're going to be launching our new practice networks, and we will be moving our regional groups to regional networks. So the regions that you've always been part of, the 13 regions, will continue, and they will be on our new RCOT Communities platform, which is really exciting. So what I want to talk to you today about is the volunteer roles that will support those communities. So as you maybe know, we've got a really strong community of volunteers who are essential to making these communities successful. And as part of the development of the communities, that was a really important part of the project, really hearing and listening to what our volunteers feel is really important as part of these communities, but the role that they can play in those communities. So we've adapted the rules to listen to what our members have told us, but also to ensure that we can meet the needs and the objectives of our new networks. So we've launched a new volunteer strategy, and very central to that as well is very much about supporting our volunteers, adhering to good practices in terms of volunteer management, but also that your development as a volunteer and giving you the opportunity to provide leadership for the profession is central to these roles. So yesterday we sent out our recruitment pack for all our new roles. So hopefully you've received that. If you haven't, I will pop a link in the chat that takes you to our web pages, and all the information is there. I won't go through all the roles because they're quite extensive, and there's lots of opportunities. And that's one of the things that we want to make sure that people can have different opportunities, that the model that we've got is more inclusive than the model previously, so that regardless of the time that you can give, the skills that you've got, your motivations, your goals, your reasons for wanting to volunteer with us, you can hopefully find a role that would suit those needs. And we want to make our roles more specific as well. So if you want to focus your role on a specific group, like if you're a learner or an early career OT, so we can really meet the needs of the members of the network. So there's quite a lot of personalisation within the roles. The roles are also structured around our career development framework, as I said earlier. We really want to have development at the essence of our roles, so that you can really articulate what you're bringing to the role, how you're developing in that role, and that you can be on a pathway as a volunteer with us, so that whatever role you take on, you can continue to develop and continue to take on various volunteer roles, not just in our communities, but across RCOT and lots of the opportunities that are available. So as I said, I'm going to pop the link in the chat. Please do, if you've got any questions, because we know that the pack is quite extensive. There's a lot of information in there. It's a very new approach to our community leadership. And do pop us any questions that you've got in the chat now, or drop our communities inbox a query, and we can get back to you, or we can make an opportunity for a conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, volunteering is so important to our RCOT and provides so much for us. But I think also in conversation with volunteers, you realise just what an important personal development and career enhancing activity it is for volunteers as well. So do have a look at that. So now I wanted to kind of discuss really another kind of potential opportunity that we're looking to develop, and I want to ask Ruth to lead the next bit for us.
Thanks, Steve. Hi everyone, it's lovely to see you all. I'm Ruth, the Head of Member Experience here at RCOT. So today I'm just going to speak to you a little bit about some of the new opportunities for members that are in the pipeline, and I'm really hoping to use you all as a bit of a sounding board to help drive some of our service improvements for the future. So what I'm discussing today actually fits into all of the fabulous work that Nikki's already been speaking about developing roles for volunteers. And firstly, I just wanted to speak to you all a little bit about our Learner Ambassador scheme, which we launched in September last year. So some of you may have heard of it. It was basically a scheme that we launched in order to develop and forge stronger relationships with students and apprentices, and also HEIs. And our goals really were to try and improve our understanding of the kind of challenges and expectations that professionals in their early careers have from us at RCOT, and to help kind of build those relationships, develop our insights, learn from our members, and develop better services for the future. So I'm really pleased to say, we launched the scheme with quite humble ambition. We thought, it would be wonderful if we could get maybe 12 champions in place by Christmas time. And actually, we've got 39 champions, and we're working with the HEIs in the remaining, out of 55, I should say. And we're working with the other HEIs to get a UK-wide representation. And we're learning a lot from our students, and it's really, they're building up their CPD opportunities through these roles as well. So it's been a great success. And kind of looking forward to the future, we want to kind of build on some of the lessons learned from that scheme, and look at what we can do in terms of, building relationships with OTs across their workplaces in the UK. So this is based on feedback that we're getting from members. So we regularly get feedback from our members that it can feel quite isolating working in a multidisciplinary team as the only OT, and often their other OT colleagues are kind of further away from them, etc. So really, we just kind of started thinking, how can we create opportunities to make that less isolating for people, and to help them wave the RCOT flag in their workplaces as well. Another thing that we know from our members as well is that the power of the OT voice is just so strong, and 77% of all our new members are joining because they've been recommended by another advocate, another RCOT member. So we really want to support people to have those discussions with their colleagues at work. We're also seeing some other trends as well, which were a little bit, in the wider workforce, which are alarming to us. And we feel there's something that we need to do about that. So we know, for example, from HCPC data, that there is, a greater risk of early professionals leaving, and between the age range of 20 to 39. So we're really looking at ways that we can kind of build that sense of community and enhance CPD opportunities, which Nikki is talking about through our volunteer roles. So as Steve said, this opportunity is very much in development, and we're exploring options for a workplace champion at present. So I really wanted to use you all as a sounding board to kind of see if this is the type of thing that you would find useful. So I have some questions here for you today, which is, do you feel a role like this would be beneficial to you and your colleagues? And could it help you connect with your workplace with RCOT? And also, do you feel something like this would actually help the next generation of OTs coming through the ranks? And what kind of support resources do you feel would help somebody in that kind of role build connections across their workplace? So I appreciate this is a lot of questions, and feel free to pop anything in the chat. And also, I'm happy to put my email in the chat as well if you want to reach out to me directly if you've any thoughts, either during the call or at a later point as well. I'd be delighted to speak to you.
Fantastic, thank you, Ruth. So, I mean, maybe now is the time if anybody wanted to give us any feedback on this kind of concept. As I think, as Ruth says, it's how we form better connections between RCOT and the workplace, make sure that all our members are familiar with the stuff that's going on. So there's a bit of a kind of communication, updating, briefing aspect of the role. Yeah, does anybody want to say anything at this point? Come off mute and give a reflection or ask a question. Yeah, is that Ojo or Star? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Star. Hi.
Star. Hi, Star.
Hi. I just thought I'd say I think it sounds like a great role, really. I'm 30, and so I guess I'm sort of in the middle of that age range that you mentioned of being 20 to 30.
Don't go.
Sorry?
I said don't go.
Don't go, yes. And I've been an OT for the past 10 years. And yeah, I can kind of understand why there's a bit of a trend of people leaving in that age range, because I do think it can be challenging, particularly when you're sort of learning assertiveness and you've got challenging sort of situations with clients. I had a really challenging client this morning, actually. So it's kind of a funny sort of thing. It's kind of, I think about this quite a lot, to be honest with you, as how we can sort of support younger or just any members, to be honest with you, around sort of having a job role where you feel like your role is to be there to help others, and in some ways sort of benchmark your own needs for someone else's, but also be able to have the confidence and the support to feel confident and able to navigate those trickier scenarios, which keeps you there. Because I think feeling supported is a major thing that keeps you engaged in the role and feeling like you want to stay. And I've got a really great team at the moment who are really supportive. But yeah, I just wanted to feedback that I think that's a great idea.
Really yeah, thanks, Star. I think that's really helpful, and I think part of the role of this could be just to make sure that everybody knows about the support that RCOT can provide to people in those in those difficult situations. So thanks. Yeah, Lydia.
Hi. Yeah, I guess I wanted to speak to that kind of people leaving around the age of 30 thing as well. I mean, a lot of people have babies, and my experience from supporting, I didn't take much time off myself, but other people is so it is. I know there's the return to practice stuff out there, but it's so hard to find someone who'll give you the practice hours to get back, especially when everyone has contracts with universities to provide student placements. Pretty much, unless you know someone who will do you a favor, it's really hard to get. And also, I had to jump through so many HR loops to be able to provide someone with the opportunity to return to practice. and it took a lot of my time, and I happen to know the person, which also then makes me feel conflicted because I'm like, oh, should I be like signing someone off if they're someone I know? When in theory, really, they should probably be finding someone they don't know. That for me, that's a really big challenge, and I really struggle to fight to even advertise jobs for return to practice occupational therapists because the HR department don't like it. I've gone through workforce, like it's a battle. It really is. Whereas for nurses, they just do it all the time, like it's standard practice. And they were like, "This has never been done before." I was like, "It's been done for nurses. It's not that different." So that's, I think for me, that is really one of the big battles for me, is we're losing. There's so much of the valuable, experienced workforce to babies. And they just can't come back. So that's one half of it. And the other half is I'm still not 100% clear on what the offer is, but the ambassadors champion thing does sound good because there is a lot of people out here feeling isolated, particularly in the mental health sector, where you are very often the only occupational therapist in an MDT. I mean, I'm in the I think a very fortunate position to be leading a team of occupational therapists in mental health. There's not very many of them working together as a team, and it is constantly under threat. And my recruitment is constantly being challenged because the nurses hold the money. And I'm also find I'm being undermined by the band 4 associate practitioner role now. They want to replace my band 5s with band 4s. So yeah, I would welcome that. I mean, as far as I'd welcome the support. As far as giving back, I mean, I've been very active member of RCOT since I was a student. So pretty much, I clinically supervise a lot of occupational therapists within the mental health directorate of my trust, and all of them I'm like, are you a member of RCOT? Have you been going to the lecture series? So I'm probably, I don't know that there's much more I can do. I'm a pretty active promoter, but I'll be willing to receive any support that's out there with regards to kind of that ambassador role, because majority of the time I'm sat at a table full of nurses who I'm finding, I've had a difficult week, I'll be honest. I'm finding can be quite challenging.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll come back to that issue actually about kind of return to practice, but I think you've just articulated really powerfully the way that kind of ambassador role could be, just reminding people of what's going on, signposting them to events, lectures and the like. I mean, Joe, you asked the question about how many OTs are members, and it is dipping below 70%, which we don't think is good enough. That's why we're doing all of these initiatives, really. And the kind of dialogue that we have when we do talk to people is, wow, we didn't know that there was so much available as part of our member offer. So there's a real kind of awareness raising issue here, I think, and that's part of the aspiration for these workplace ambassadors, is just to spread the word, really, and make sure there's a much better kind of two-way information flow. Yeah, anybody else want? Yeah, Tina, what would you like to share?
Hi. So I'm a screening duty OT in social services, but I just wanted to talk about some elements of this. I think that, so I'm obviously much older. I'm not falling in this this age range, but I think that this is a really good idea. I think that we can't excuse me, we can't underestimate the impact of the pandemic on the occupational therapists of today that were going through training at the time. And I think that we have to really look at how we can, nurture these newer qualified OTs. And just because somebody is already qualified now, what those undergraduate OTs went through their training during the pandemic was actually really difficult. That's a bit of an understatement, I know, but lack of access to placements, lack of access to these different experiences and the things that enable us to get a bit more of a bedrock of coping skills and learning of those more, our placement educators. There was none of that. And I think that we have to be really mindful of that. So for me, this is a brilliant idea. I think that because we are going to have to somehow teach resilience and how to be robust, how we're going to have to go back, be able to support people that have shadowing, allow the people to newly qualified OTs be able to go on home visits, go into strangers' homes, see, there's all manner of things. There's all manner of things that go on in people's homes now that pre-pandemic, maybe wouldn't have done. There's a lot of people that don't cope as well. There's, we know that times have changed. And I think that this has got to RCOT in doing this. If this can really be a thing, I think would go a long way to actually keeping hold of and creating really, really good OTs that care for the future. So that's one thing. So I think that would be a benefit. I think it definitely would help support the next generation of OTs. And then going into that would be the support and resources needed to build those roles. So we all need somebody that knows somebody that we all need somebody that knows more than we know. And that goes all the way up the train, even to you, Steve. You're going to need to rely on somebody that knows a tiny bit more than you, because otherwise, well, maybe not. Maybe we're all coming for you, Steve. Maybe it really stops there. But what I mean is that we have to have, I'm lucky enough. I mean, I don't complete home visits anymore. I do duty screening, but my team, the team that I work with, they're out there, they're busy, very, very busy, and things are very complex. But the cohesiveness of the team and the willingness to support each other and having time to chew apart things is crucial if anything like this is to properly get off the ground and then become actually a part of everyday OT practice in all sectors. That's my feelings.
Thanks so much, Tina. That was really important. I'll perhaps ask Karen to respond to some of the things you've heard, and then I'll ask Rob to talk about. There's some discussion in the chat about an RCOT app, something.
Thanks, Stephen. Tina, I couldn't agree more. When we were developing our workforce strategy and the ongoing discussions we're having around workforce, this is a really key point about the newly registered occupational therapists that are coming through who have had their education really disrupted by all the lockdowns, and potentially we could see this impact for the next 18 years because we have got children who've had their development interrupted, younger adults that have had their education, their GCSEs, their A levels, their hires disrupted. So, we could see the impact for this for quite a long time. We're doing a couple of pieces of work around supporting learners making that transition into being newly registered. So the first piece is about we're expanding our learning and development standards. So these currently shape the curricula. We don't dictate the curricula for pre-reg education, but these are the standards that the curricula are measured against. We're expanding that to incorporate employers of newly registered occupational therapists so we can help with that transition. We are developing a new team. We're bringing in expertise so that our previous education team is now going to be running an education enhancement service. So we're bringing in occupational therapists with experience of developing programs and working in education as well as in clinical practice who can work with universities and employers supporting that transition. So it's all in the making at the moment. We're not sort of seeing delivery and impact yet, but it is coming shortly.
Brilliant. Thank you, Karen. Rob, do you want to answer that question about whether we have an RCOT app?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, everyone. So we're not going to have a single RCOT app. We did give this a lot of sort of consideration and a lot of thought, but actually our view was that there are lots of kind of apps competing for sort of time and space, and that actually we didn't feel that was the best approach to go. Not least of which because actually we've got lots of different sort of platforms, so you wouldn't necessarily have one app that sort of covered all those. But what we have done is really important part of the kind of digital experience that we're developing is making sure that every kind of bit of technology that we kind of provide, that you use, is designed to from a mobile perspective, and is designed to work really nicely and look really nicely on mobiles. So our new website and sort of platform will work really nicely on the mobiles, and obviously the communities platform will work really nicely on the sort of mobile platform. So everything that we do and everything we can design will work really well, and will give a really great experience on kind of tablets or on phones and whatever kind of device that you want to do. What we're also doing as well is make sure that everything's kind of really integrated. So again, through the kind of through our website and through the sort of portal, you'll be able to find all our other kind of digital platforms there really easily and really kind of nicely, and it'd be really easy to sort of log in. And also kind of over time as well, we're working to make sure that not only in terms of that kind of accessibility, it's easy to kind of get in, but also that we're kind of learning from the different sort of platforms and systems as well, so we can get that understanding about what's important to you and things that are important to you and things that you kind of care about. We can learn from that and learn from that kind of information, and help shape what we kind of do in the future, and help shape the way that we work, and also help to continue to kind of shape how those platforms work as well. So that kind of that easy, accessible, integrated sort of experience on whatever kind of device you use is been sort of fundamental to the way that we're sort of building things, and to the way that we're designing how things work as well.
Brilliant, thanks Rob. So not a RCOT app, but actually a whole kind of mobile experience, which we think will include kind of all of the functionality effectively of that through the kind of integrations, and won't need to be updated every few weeks, which is, you know, the logistical challenges you have when you rely on apps to do that. Any other kind of comments or questions? There's a lot of stuff in the chat, which is great. Does anybody want to elaborate any of the points that you're kind of making there? Some quite philosophical discussion really around OT that's taking place. Or does anybody want to respond to any of the comments there? Ruth, do you feel I think you've had some support around the workplace champion ambassador scheme. Is there anything else you wanted to ask around that, or maybe just sort of talk about the next steps and how people can get involved, and then we'll bring Alison in.
Sure, thank you, Steve. I'm actually just in the process of writing a big essay in the chat to one of the many fantastic comments. So thank you so much, everyone, for your feedback. And actually, it's really good to hear that you think this could be something useful for you, because we're really committed at the moment to looking at how we deliver our services in a way that adds value and makes your lives easier. So it's good to hear that the initial feedback is really positive. In terms of next steps, I will continue to kind of answer as many of the comments as I possibly can in the chat for the remainder of this meeting. I'll share my contact details, so if anyone does have any kind of thoughts after the call and they'd like to reach out, do reach out, and myself and Nikki would be delighted to have a chat with you. And then in terms of kind of, follow up to that, we will further define how this role, the perimeters of this role, and we'll feed it into, we'll be looking to kind of communicate to members about this in around March time. So you will see more, so keep an eye on our communications at our website, and it will be part of, the many communications that we're sharing with you. But in the interim, do reach out if you have any questions at all. But thanks again for the fantastic feedback, and you've given us a lot of food for thought today.
Yeah. And don't wait for that. Do volunteer for the roles that Nick is promoting, because there's some great opportunities there now to make a difference, immediately. Alison. Good to see you.
Hi, good afternoon. Always lovely to see old friends and new friends on these calls. Can you hear me? Just to make sure I've
Yes, we can.
unmuted myself. Fantastic. So I am absolutely all pro how we can support our new OTs into practice. It's a very scary world at the moment. It's absolutely a very tough environment to work in. It is very stressed and stretched, and you're working often in integrated teams and things like that. So it is a very, very tough environment, and we need to support people so they stay around and stick around. What my ask is also is that there are a lot of us now in role emergent, non-traditional portfolio career settings. I haven't had OT on my badge since 2013. So at the moment, I haven't had OT or AHP on my badge, for many, many years now. And I think in some senses, this is the reality now of OTs now, kind of through choice or circumstances or the way the NHS is structured or healthcare is structured, is that you're now doing different career pathways. And I'm very proud of the career pathway I've had and how I've been able to kind of be a great ambassador for OT in many different settings, and celebrated and shown people if you need something done, you need to employ an OT. And so at the moment, what my ask is that absolutely we need to focus on our learners, but what's the offer for all of us who are doing the right thing by doing all these role emergent portfolio, non-traditional role careers? So I've had 11 jobs in 11 years because of the hurly-burly of the NHS. And so what's my offer for me to keep me anchored in RCOT? Because I'm not kind of practicing as a pure OT now. I'm using my transferable skills. There are a lot of us out there, and in some senses, I'd like to feel equally looked after by my professional body and HCPC and the CHPO office as well. And my main concern is that when I talk to other OTs who are not now doing roles like me in non-traditional role emergent settings, is that a lot of the things that people are now saying is, why do I need my RCOT membership? And I think that's a big thing. A lot of us are in these roles and kind of not often by choice. It's down to kind of NHS restructures and competitive job recruitment and things like that. Or sometimes kind of circumstances put you into a different field. It can be serendipity or choice. So at the moment, my concern is talking to a lot of my friends who are doing similar career pathways to myself at the moment, going, and why do I need RCOT membership? And also, what's the offer for us who are out there trailblazing OT, but without OT on our badge? And actually, a lot of places going like, absolutely, isn't it amazing we had an OT doing that?
Yeah. No, thank you, Alison. You make that point really powerfully. Nikki, do you want to talk about how you could see the work that you're doing?
I think this is something probably myself and Corin could answer, because it's a conversation that we have very regularly, Alison, and it's lovely to see you. And certainly, yes, as Steve says, something that we want to address as part of the new communities in a couple of different ways. One is that, when we launch the platform, we've still got a lot of learning to do. When we launch it, and the networks that are on there, they're not going to be, this is it. This is the starting point. This is the foundations. These are the spaces that people can come into, but we want people to be able to connect, and we want be able to create their own communities as well. And we also, as I said earlier, want it to be relevant to everybody. And we know how diverse our profession is, the diverse needs that we've got, what the reasons people will want to be part of a community, the reasons people will want to connect with each other. And I think your group, what you've just talked about, Alison, very clearly, there absolutely is, people that will want to connect around those and the different aspects within that. There will be a leadership network And when we create the networks, the thinking behind this in the first instance is these are very universal spaces. So leadership is a very broad word, isn't it? And why you might want to connect underneath that kind of leadership umbrella is going to be extremely broad. But we want people to come onto the platform and to understand what is relevant to you and how you might want to connect with other people within that leadership network for the reasons that are relevant to you. So don't have a very definite answer in terms of that, but there will be a space where we can start to create that relevancy for you, and you can help us to shape that. And what we've done within the volunteer roles is we have leadership roles. So those roles have been created aligned with the career development framework. So they very much align with level 7, level 8 of the career development framework. And we will also create roles at level 9 in the career development framework too going forward. And the purpose of these roles is very much about bringing your leadership skills and also developing leadership skills in these roles and what you can bring to the profession. And as you say, having occupation at the center of everything that we do. You know, I should have started this by saying, Alison, once an occupational therapist, always an occupational therapist. So, you know, we do have so many members that aren't in occupational therapy roles, but it's really important that this community is our space where we really maintain, grow, develop, own our professional identity. And I think the community is going to be a great place to do that. So, you know, would love to hear, Alison, about how you think we could do that within the communities. So, you know, open a conversation, or if you would love you to take on a role, if you'd like to have a look at the pack. But yeah, we can shape this once the communities goes live. You know, this is where we can shape this even more.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I can see just getting a group of people like Alison together and just thrashing this out could be really helpful. Karen, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Alison, you thought once you'd left council you'd escaped the grips of RCOT, but we're going to find ways of pulling you back in. I think you're absolutely right, and I have friends who are OTs and members at a senior level going, you know, what is it that we can get from RCOT, and it is an ongoing conversation we've had. So as an interim, we've run a leadership advisory group and a leadership forum, and it has been an interim whilst we wait for the communities platform to be built. Certainly when I speak to leaders, what they want is to be able to connect and support each other, because they're so often the only occupational therapist in the room when they're in these multidisciplinary leadership roles and working across this wider health and social care system. And they want to be able to share expertise and their experiences. So I think for me, this is what the platform's going to enable us to do. We already have a system that we are waiting for the platform to be up and ready. We'll be launching a reviewed a more streamlined process for bringing in members to act as reps. And so I think part of our offer will be giving leaders the opportunity to represent the profession nationally. So I think, and there's greater opportunity to really steer our work. So I think for us, that's what that's what we'll be offering leaders the opportunity to do. And we've started doing that, but we're just focusing on building these platforms to enable and make that an easier and smoother process for members to work with us.
Thank you. Yeah, we talk a lot about the community platform and we're excited by it, but it's only going to be as strong as the kind of contributions that you will make to it, actually. And it's fantastic seeing this conversation going on in the chat box, and that to me is a bit of a vision for the kind of discussion and dialogue that could really bring life to the platform when it's launched. So yeah, look out for that. Anything else that people wanted to ask or raise in the few minutes before we finish? Any questions you have for any of us? Yeah, Bonnie.
Hiya.
Hi,
Good to see everybody. Yeah, just a question. We're looking forward to the new communities network, and we know that it can be online and we can connect. So that'd be brilliant. My question is meeting in person, because all those conversations over a cup of tea or just networking, who's in that environment. A bit like Alison, I haven't been in OT for about 8 years on my badge, if you want, and I'm now mostly case management. But the essential learning of OT is what I bring to all my cases. So I'm with Alison on it would be good to have a network in emerging roles for OT. But also in the meantime, since we don't have any regions at the minute since October until spring, my question is, we're having a 25-year reunion from Exeter, which we're looking forward to. So we've got about 60 people coming from all 4 nations. And what support could you offer us, both securing a venue and maybe marketing it, whether it's working with OT News and saying St. Loy's, this is the progression of it, looking at people's journeys. I think that in person would be a good place where you could maybe get a few more volunteers as well. But yeah, we need a bit of help.
I wonder whether, Nikki, you might want to talk sort of generally around the kind of thinking around in-person versus kind of virtual. I think, Bonnie, I think that the more specific questions, I think let's take that offline where we can have a good conversation rather than, you know, everybody else sort of, you know, I think there's people are queuing up to talk, so we'll do that afterwards. But yeah, talk Nikki a bit about the thinking around in-person versus online.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, you know, we've talked a lot, as Steve said, about our community platform, and obviously it's virtual, it's online, and part of that reason is to break down the barriers that we know that we have around geography so that we can really connect people across the UK much more easier, and we can have those kind of instantaneous connections. But we also know, we absolutely know the value of in-person events. So this is not to say that everything will be virtual and moving to online, but what it will help us to do is to really get those insights into when we do have in-person events, what is the real value that people want to get out of those events? What are the reasons why people want to come together, and when they do come together, so we can plan those. We absolutely will be, you know, continuing our regional events. We know that where people are able to come together, where it's more geographically you know, accessible, so we need to think about what they need to look like in the different regions. So that's the one of the key things we'll be focusing on when we first launch the platform as well, is really getting those insights into what people want from those events and using that. So we're using that to inform our decision making and planning and working with our volunteers. One of the roles that we've got in the new volunteer structure are community engagement roles. So that really is about understanding our communities and how we engage with them in lots of different ways so that we can be as accessible as possible and meeting all those different needs.
Yeah, and we are planning events. We will continue to plan in-person events, as Nikki says. Let's go. Yeah, David.
Hey everyone, my name's David Clark. I work outside Glasgow as an OTA. I was just curious about the workforce strategy action plans for NI in Scotland. What's the kind of key headlines for that?
Yeah, Karen, can you pick up that point?
Yes, so I can't say about Scotland. That's being developed at the moment. So and that will come out in April, David, or we'll have it ready for the end of March. And we'll be publicising it in April. In Northern Ireland, we are looking at key areas of moving occupational therapists into community prevention, primary care roles, but also we're looking at apprenticeships. So we've already put in for a pilot to do apprenticeships. This is a key area for us in Scotland. In Scotland, we haven't had as much traction, and I'm drawing on apprenticeship because, David, I think you submitted a question around apprenticeships.
I wasn't sure if you've got it. Yes,
yeah, I had.
That was the underlying.
I'll focus on that because we have got, as you know, the challenge with apprenticeships in Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland is everybody nods, everybody thinks it's a very good idea, and particularly as a way of perhaps addressing some of the challenges around recruitment and retention in rural areas, but nobody's willing to put the money up front. So in Northern Ireland, we have a potential bite of the cherry. We're waiting to hear back whether our submission for a pilot has been successful. We continue to push with this in Scotland. We weave it into all sorts of conversations that we have about workforce generally. But there is a AHP group that's meeting that Katie McGregor, our Policy and Public Affairs lead, is involved in with Shona Ballantyne from Greater Glasgow, which I'm sure you know, Shona. And they're going to come up with a couple of examples of how AHP frameworks, which will look also at opportunities to widen routes into AHP professions. So we'll be looking at earn and learn as a potential route. Once we've got that in place, we will use that as the basis of our work to have further conversations with the Scottish Government and with the CAPO.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Carl. Conscious of time, and some people are already leaving. I know you're all in busy days, so let's perhaps bring things to a close. I think just had one more slide to share, actually, Amisha. We get that on screen, which is just talking about ways in which you can kind of continue some of these conversations actually. So yeah, opportunities to get involved, become a community volunteer. We've plugged that, I think, quite strongly. Support our campaign, The Power of OT. I think has been a great example actually of where, you know, OTs working together across the UK can really kind of amplify our voice. We've moved away from it being a kind of OT week approach and thinking this is a continual process. So do make sure that your workplace is looking at that. Come to our placement, profile raising, research cafes. Maybe just talking today, you know, I've said a lot of people don't understand all of the membership benefits that they have, and maybe you're thinking, well, perhaps you don't understand what's available to you. So do look out for these Maximise Your Membership webinars. We organise lots of those, and that's helpful. Join an RCOT advisory group around the workforce strategy. Join our member insights panel. We've got, I think, Ruth, is it 300, 400 members who are there to just answer short questionnaires, get involved in short sort of focus groups or something. Just really, you know, when we've got a big question about something, being able to test it with our members is really important. Apply for a research innovation grant and follow us on social media. So lots of ways I hope that we can continue this kind of two-way dialogue. So I'll kind of end it there. Do reach out and contact any of us if you want to follow up any of the points that I've made or make a point that you weren't able to make in this discussion. Thanks so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. It's been pretty miserable sitting here on our own, thinking that no one cares, no one is interested. So it's fantastic to see this lively discussion. We'll repeat these, I think, every 3 months. So look out for the next one, and we'll see you then. So thanks very much indeed, everybody. Goodbye.